right, Wednesday night on the Krug Show. Kev's back in the house. Cal Poly's been kicking his butt, but finally made some time for the call-in show. And here we are, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. Who doesn't love Pig and a Pickle? 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. Get the brisket chili. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. What's going on, Kev? How are you?
Doing good. It's been a while since we did one of these. It's been a while.
Seriously.
I've been grinding away.
You have been grinding. How's the semester going?
It's going good. It's a little bit harder than I thought for my last quarter. So I've been kind of swamped. Last week I had midterms and I had to study for a midterm. So that's why I couldn't come on. And then other weeks I've just been busy.
Week before you had Coachella or something, right?
No, I didn't miss it because of Coachella. That was on the weekend. But just these Wednesdays, I have a lot of classes on Thursdays. So it seems like Wednesday nights are my big homework nights. But just finished up midterms. So I'm chilling. I'm chilling right now. And I'm excited to talk some football because we got the beginning of the off season starts tomorrow.
It's gonna be great.
Beginning of the
rookie minicamp is
the
here.
Actual playing. Yeah. Rookie minicamp's tomorrow, so I'm excited for that. We won't be there, or you won't be there tomorrow, but you'll be there on Friday. Tomorrow's just the press conference and players report, I think.
Right. And we will bring you whatever we can from the stream and from recreate some of that stuff, and we'll have some content, but I won't be down there until practice on Friday. When they hit the field, I will be there to put my eyes on it and to report back to you who looks good, who looks bad, who looks just okay.
So for today's show, I thought,
what are we doing? We got calls,
this is the show
right?
For the people. This is a show for the people. We do this for the people, right? This Wednesday show it's the call-in show, which reminds me, I should probably put the call-in link in the chat. I'm going to put the call-in link in the chat, and I'm going to pin it. But on this
give us a call. We love the video calls. The video calls are some of our favorite shows of the year. We never know what direction it's going to go, and we love talking with the audience. And you know what? We haven't talked to the audience since the draft. So I want everybody to call up tonight and tell me give me your, not necessarily grade, but your thoughts on any or all of the Niner draft choices. I want to know what you think of it. So dial in the number, hit the video chat. We already got people hanging in the room. Alan from Coles is popped into the back room. Indianapolis in the house on the Krug Show. Alan, hold tight. We got the mailbag. We get the mailbag first, and then we'll go to your call. We don't want you to lose your gameful employment there in Indianapolis because
it looks like he's at home. Right. He's at home right now.
He's at home. All right, there you go. Well, we love the dedication, Alan. Hang with us for a few minutes, and we will get you in there. You'll be the leadoff hitter tonight. But first, we go mailbag. Kev, people asking you what's up. What's up, Kev?
I put out on our channel today, not on Twitter. I put it out on our channel community page. I said, call in show tonight, and we're doing a mailbag. Drop your mailbag questions. So I compiled 5 questions from the mailbag that I want to ask you, and just the people want to hear your opinion on these questions. So I'm just going to rattle them off. The first one comes from James Ginyard -LX20Q. So very easy name to remember there. But he actually has 2 questions. Ginyard.
Yes, JG in the house. Yes, go ahead.
He says, in the next 3 years, do you see SF winning a Super Bowl and Brock Purdy winning an MVP?
I mean, I'm a big Brock Purdy fan. I'm a lifelong Niner fan, so it's easy for me to say yes. But if you said what is more likely, I don't know about the MVP because you just never know. You got so many great players. But yeah, I do expect the 49ers to win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years. Absolutely. I would be very surprised if they did not get it done in the next 3 years. How about you?
I agree. I mean, in terms of if we were going to say which one's more likely, it's definitely the Super Bowl. I mean, we saw this season Brock Purdy lead quarterbacks in first or second in almost every category, and I don't think he was in the top 3 for MVP voting. Dak Prescott was higher than him in MVP voting. So there's just the way that team's built. People are always going to discredit Brock Purdy's success. So I think that's going to hold him back from getting an MVP, unlike other quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, I mean, there might be somebody who puts up an extraordinary season along the way, and so you never really know on the MVP. But the Niners, I think, got better. I think they've added some dimension to their team. I think they're firmly in their Super Bowl window, and it's not like they're like Joe Lacob said, the Warriors were light years ahead. It's not like the Niners are light years ahead of the competition in the NFC. But I think Purdy's efficiency combined with their roster put them on an even playing field with every other contender in the conference. That's my thought on it.
The second part of his question is also, what do you think Nick Sorensen will bring to the defense that we may or may not need?
Well, we're going to talk to him for the first time tomorrow. What I think he brings continuity. And I do think that's, yeah, I mean, I think that, but I mean, I think he brings continuity with the group and with the scheme. So it's not like everybody's got to. Last year, Steve Wilks had to come in and learn the entire scheme and then coach it to guys who, for the most part, had been involved in it longer than he had. So that was a tough task. This year, they went in-house. They're not changing their scheme. Every person's going to have a little bit different wrinkle on what he likes and doesn't like as far as, blitz packages and games up front and what kinds of stunts and this and so on and so forth. What kind of coverages, what percentage do they play, man, what percentage do they play zone? But I think the basics of the Niner defensive scheme are remaining static and unchanged. And I think that's the main advantage and the allure of Sorensen. The other thing is, when you're carrying out somebody else's plan, your level of accountability to that plan, I gotta believe, is less than when you're carrying out your own plan. And I think that's the difference in last year and this year. Steve Wilks was carrying out somebody else's plan. He was doing the best he could do. But this year, you've got Sorensen kind of, he's been in the system and he'll be carrying out, in theory, his own plan, so I think that's an advantage, Niners. And also just the fact that he knows the talent, he knows what he's got, what he doesn't have.
Yeah, no, those are all good points. When you said continuity, the first thing I thought about was him being a former linebacker, because when I think of the 49ers defense, and just specifically last year, the main talking point was, you got to tie in the back end to the front end. And I feel like the linebacker position is the position that ties in the back end to the front end. And not that the Niners don't have good linebackers. They've always had good linebackers with Steve Wilks or without him. It's just that he played linebacker, and I think that, his understanding of how that all works is going to help the team.
Yeah.
Second question here from Chualar1203. He says, which opponent
just rolls off the tongue. It
really rolls off the tongue. He says, which opponent should the 49ers be worried about this season? Just for your reference, the top opponents that I saw for the 49ers this season are the Lions, Chiefs, Cowboys, Bills, Miami Dolphins, and Packers.
It's the Chiefs. The Chiefs have beaten you in 2 straight Super Bowls. Last time they came to Levi's, they hung 40 on you. It's the Chiefs. You've got to beat the Chiefs in the regular season. Why? Because they've got to go into the Super Bowl if there's ever another Niners-Chiefs Super Bowl number 3. They got to go into it with some doubt in their mind. They got to go into it with some question whether or not they can win. Right now, they have total confidence against the Niners. The Niners probably have total, lack of confidence against them. The Niners need to beat the Chiefs. They need to show that they can beat Kansas City, so that Kansas City, in any kind of a winner-take-all type situation in the Super Bowl, has some doubt whether they're going to – they play with such confidence, and it just makes them loose, and it makes them borderline unbeatable. So, yeah, it's Kansas City in my mind. What about for you?
I mean, if I wasn't going Chiefs, I'd probably go Lions just because that NFC Championship game, Dan Campbell saved your bacon. And, and that game could have a lot more implications towards seeding. So I think that game might have more importance. I don't know if I'm more worried about it, but it's definitely an important game because you might face up against them again in the NFC Championship game. And they got better, and they got DJ Reader. That's a good team. That's a team to watch because they're a young team getting better. And they got Terrion Arnold at corner. I think they went corner. Did they go Ennis Rakestraw?
Yeah, they went Enos Rakestraw. So I mean, they they needed to improve their D line. They added Marcus Davenport and DJ Reader. And then they needed to improve their secondary, and they added Amik Robertson and somebody else in free agency. And then they turned around and spent their first 2 picks on Rakestraw and Terrion Arnold. They also got our buddy Sione Vaki, who we know is a pretty good player. So, yeah, I mean,
pretty legit.
He's one of the most underrated GMs in football, and he's doing a job there. So watch out for Detroit.
Yeah, definitely. Third question here from Casey Gregory. He says, does Brock Purdy have to be better than he was last year to get the 49ers over the hump? Or can Purdy play like he did and the rest of the team are the ones that need to step it up?
That's a good question. I'll say this. If you ask Brock Purdy that question, he would say that he does need to step it up for them to get over the hump. But I actually think he played pretty incredible football when you really think about it. I think overall their offensive line and defensive line has to be better. I mean, their run D was a joke. They got pushed around in the preseason. Anybody who committed to the run last year had success running it. The only way the Niners stopped the run is if they scored so many points offensively that the game situation took away the other team's ability to run. Teams ran consistently from the first time this team got together till Super Bowl Sunday. So they need to improve their run D. And that's really the big issue, I think. They need to improve their run D. They needed to have a couple more alpha type players in the secondary. I think with Malik Mustafa and Renardo Green, they've added those players. We'll see about the offensive line. I mean, we'll see. I mean, the Niners, everybody doesn't like the Niner tackles outside of Trent Williams, except for the Niners, who seem like they like Colton McKivitz and they like Jalen Moore. So are they foolish for liking those guys and the fans are right? Or are the fans, too harsh on McKivitz and the right side of the Niner offensive line and it's going to be good enough? I mean, only time's going to tell. But they didn't do tons to improve their offensive line. They added 4 names, 2 in the draft, 2 after the draft. Dominic Pooney being the highest, drafted offensive lineman in the 3rd out of Kansas. Does he step in and take over the right guard job? Does he take over Brendel's job? Does he compete with McKivitz? There's a lot of questions on the offensive line. But to me, I think Purdy could play literally the same kind of football that he played a year ago, and they could win if they're just better on the offensive line. And maybe better at receiver. I mean, they couldn't get open against Snead and McDuffie in the Super Bowl. And now here's Pearsall, here's Cowing, here's Pline, here's Garendo. Here, they've added some weapons since then. So we'll see if it's enough.
Yeah, I agree. I think, Brock Purdy, a quarterback should always be improving. So it's not like Brock Purdy's perfect by any means. But after the Super Bowl, usually the quarterback that loses is like there's like a referendum around that quarterback being, he lost the Super Bowl, but that wasn't really the case when the Niners lost. It was more like, what did Shanahan do? What did the defense do? What they did wrong. Brock Purdy played really well in the Super Bowl. So I don't think the one thing I would say, and people would say, be consistent. I've been doing this long enough where I think it's really important that I try to be as consistent as I can be. The one thing, and I've said it for years, that the quarterback down is 3rd down. And the Niners in the Super Bowl converted 3 of 12 on 3rd downs. So is that on Brock? Yeah, it is on Brock. But it's also on, the collective, right? Did they protect well enough? Did the receivers do good enough? But, you always hang that 3rd down conversion rate on the quarterback, and 3 of 12 is not good enough. So I think that's why you're seeing Ricky Pearsall, because I think Ricky Pearsall is a continuity piece, right? He's the guy that is going to help,
help you convert. He's going to be their version of Puka Nakua that the Rams utilized so much this year. So, yeah, I and I was listening to some audio from Greg Cosell on with Doug Farrar talking about Pearsall, and he said, he really thinks that, he was asked by, I think, Murph and Marcus on the KMBR morning show a few weeks ago, hey, what do you think? Why this is before the draft? Which receiver do you think fits the Niners? And he said Pearsall before the draft, and then ultimately they drafted Pearsall. So you can see why it's a good marriage between the Niners and Pearsall. The question is just, is he tough enough? One thing Cosell pointed out that I thought was really interesting is he said when he watched the college film, he saw clear examples where Pearsall separated from the coverage. And to me, that's good, because that would be my question. Does he have the quickness and the athleticism to separate? And then does he have enough athleticism and speed and quickness in a short area to stay separated? And then is he tough? I mean, he's Julian Edelman. Well, Julian Edelman's extraordinarily tough. So is he that tough? He's Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's really, really quick and really, really tough. So is he that tough? I would say if you could convince me that Pearsall was like really a tough guy, and could take hits and catch it in a crowd and keep his feet and avoid the jam and get off the line of scrimmage and all the things that go into it. If you could tell me and prove to me and promise me he's tough, then I'll sit there and promise you he's going to be a phenomenal pick, because that's all that really separates him from being really good. Is he pretty tough? Is he a tough guy? If he is, he's going to get off the line of scrimmage. He's going to be able to catch it in a crowd, take a hit and hold on, because the ball skills, the route running, the hands, it's all there.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing some research on Pearsall, and it's funny that you say, the one thing that matters is the separation, because he was great at getting separation in college, and that's kind of his game. I looked in some stats. His average separation was 3.25 yards, which was second among rookies that were drafted this year. And his average separation while the ball was in the air was 0.28 yards, which is third among rookies that were drafted this year. So the statistics are in his favor.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give you another one that I really like. I'm just glancing at the front page of Niners Nation, and somebody wrote a story in here. I think it's Rohan. Ravens general manager Eric DeCosta reveals that 49ers first-round pick Ricky Pearsall was one of his 2024 NFL draft sleepers. If that is indeed a true statement that Eric DeCosta, that's a great sign, because DeCosta is one of the best going. He's one of the best evaluators going. And there are a lot of people that really like Ricky Pearsall. The other thing I heard today that I think was really interesting is that Ricky Pearsall's 20-yard shuttle, which is the first 20 of his 40, was like 98th percentile. So he's really, really fast in those first 20 yards. That's where this whole thing gets decided. The percentage of plus 20-yard routes run in a game is small compared to, 20 or less. So the fact that he's got one of the fastest 20-yard shuttles is a great indicator. But the fact that Eric DeCosta thinks he's one of his draft sleepers, to me, that puts a smile on my face, because I think the Ravens GM is one of the best who does it.
I think that's so true, because the 40 time is almost misleading in a sense. Like, obviously fast 40 times means that you're fast. I'm not saying that if you run a fast 40 time, you're not fast, but it doesn't really matter how fast you're running, the second half of the 40. It really matters the first half of the 40. Like, the reason why Tyreek Hill is fast is not because it's more to do with the fact that his stop start is incredible. Like, he can go to 0 to 100 like in an instant. And that's right. What makes Tyreek Hill so fast, is that he's just immediately sprinting. And not saying that Pearsall's, Tyreek Hill at all, but the fact that he can move fast quickly in a short area, that's going to translate well for him.
Yeah. I mean, to me, the big one, though, is, the thing about Puka Nakua and Edelman is just they are ridiculously tough, and they take hits, and it's like none of the hits ever seem like they bother them. I want to see what this guy's contact balance looks like. I want to see when he gets starched, does he pop right back up? Is he one of these like, rare tough guys? Kind of like, I mean, Julian Edelman, because this guy's bigger than Julian Edelman. This guy's a legit 6'1". And, he's faster than Julian Edelman for the stopwatch. But, if he's in that ballpark toughness wise, that's going to be a great indication.
Excuse me, sorry.
But overall, I do like the pick, and I do think that the guy's going to make an impact right away. I think.
Fourth question here from Race Ragasiner. He says, are Jacob Cowing's 30+ drops in college going to follow him into the NFL?
That's a good question. I think he's got pretty good ball skills. He hasn't always played with the best quarterbacks. I mean, some of the accuracy, and he'll go for all, he'll aggressively pursue the football. That's something to watch for. I mean, I'll say this though. I love the precision in his route running. I love the explosiveness in and out of the breaks. I mean, this guy, ran 4.38, but also had a great production all over the field. So I think Cowing, we'll see. There's always an adjustment. There's a lot to think about in this offense, especially early on. If he's thinking instead of just reacting, you might see some drops. But I think Cowing's hands and ball skills are well above average. So I would say no, that's not going to be an issue.
Yeah, well, you're definitely right, because I looked into this before the show. One, he played 5 years of college, and he played a full 5 years of college. So he got a lot of targets. He got a lot more targets than other people. He had 33 drops. In the last 4 years of his college career, his drop percentage declined each season. He had 6
so he's
drops.
Getting better. He's improving.
Yeah. He had 6 drops last season and a drop percentage of 6.3%, which was lower than receivers of the name of Marvin Harrison Jr., Javon Baker, Malachi Corley, Troy Franklin, Brian Thomas Jr. So
what are we talking about?
I'm not too. Yeah. So what are we talking about? I think that the big number comes from the fact that he played for 5 seasons and got a lot of balls. He got a lot of targets. Very productive. A lot of production from him. So
and also, I mean, when you're fast and you've got ball skills, you're making plays on the football that other guys are not. And then what percentage of those are in the category of drops as opposed to, man, that was a really good effort to even get a hand on it. I don't know. I mean, it's a judgment call, right?
Yeah.
What's viewed a true drop as opposed to,
yeah, it's
like baseball. It's like, was that an error or was that was that an error? Was that a hit? Well, I don't know. I mean, it's like, it's a judgment call. But I definitely think that when you have a big catch radius and you're a small guy and you're fast, and you're the number one receiver like he was, maybe those numbers are slightly inflated. That's all I would say. I didn't see a guy who looked at in any way fidgety or unsure catching the ball. I really didn't. He wasn't a body catcher. He didn't seem like he saw the ball late. He seemed like a really outstanding route runner who had really good ball skills and a huge catch radius. So he is 5'8", so we'll see.
Last question here. This one was asked multiple times. It's not really on the 49ers topic, but this one was asked at least 3 or 4 times in the comments. And it basically said, what can the fans / media do to pressure ownership to remove Farhan?
I think not go. I mean, what you really can't. You could call talk shows, you could write letters, you could do whatever you want. And they're up 8-4 tonight, and they're probably gonna. Looks like they're taking apart the one team in the division they can handle. Yeah, I mean, I think like, I hate to say it because it's like I'm not advocating a boycott, but if you feel strongly enough that you want him out of there and that he should be out of there, and Chris Russo feels this way, then yeah, don't go to the games. The lack of attendance speaks loudly. But I understand, I'm also one of these people who believes strongly that, don't bite off your nose to spite your face. I mean, don't deny yourself and your family and your kids summertime enjoyment to make some kind of statement thinking that it's going to be all powerful. It's like, do what's best for yourself. If you got a young kid and he wants to go to the game, take him to the game. I mean, I don't know. That's my thought on it. Life's too short. Who cares about, your statement or my statement on Farhan's ineptitude? It's more important that you get that day in the sunshine with your kids. But yeah, I mean, come on. This is year 6. They've sucked in 5 of the 6 years. The farm system is still kind of lacking. So, I mean, I don't think Farhan's the worst, but maybe he's more of a farm director or more of a maybe he's a think tanker. Maybe he's a number cruncher, but I don't know that he's a leader. They haven't been able to win in free agency. It's like, does he need to get the farm system going? Well, he doesn't if he's landed free agents, but since he didn't land free agents, now he does need to get the farm system going. So, it's all just about there's more than one way to do it, right? Some guys go after free agents, some guys go after farm system. If you can blend it, that's great. The Giants right now are going after free agents because their farm system's not producing and they're not really landing free agents. So then they're paying exorbitant prices for secondary free agents. They're getting burned. Every free agent that's signing there wants a 1-2 year opt out on their own side because they're not sure if they want to be in the Bay Area or play for this team. So you can see the Giant. He's not doing a very good job of selling the iconic experience, the iconic franchise, or the iconic ballpark, or the history of the team. He's just not selling the Giants program well enough because he's not landing premier free agents, and then he's having to overpay for the second tier, and I think that's where you get burned.
Yeah. I have no comment on this. No comment on this.
No comment.
Well, that's the end of our mailbag. So those are
Should
our
we hit
5
the calls?
questions. I think it's time to hit the calls.
We got some people hanging in the back room. Let's go to Alan from Coles. What's up, Alan? How are you, man?
Hey, Larry. How you doing, man?
Good. What'd you think of the draft?
It was hit and miss. I don't know. Because I'll go for 2 teams. My home state, which is the Niners, and then the one I have to support here, which is the Colts. Which I actually like the Colts draft alone, though, especially getting that Mitchell.
They got Adonai Mitchell. They got who else they get?
Latu.
Oh, that's right. They
That's
got
their
Latu.
first round pick. Yeah. And then a couple O linemen. I don't know off the top of my head, but
I'm not really
I think
a fan
they
of
did a good
Latu.
Why not? You don't like Latu? He's like an injury.
He's huge injury concern.
He's fragile. Yeah, he might be fragile. He's a hell of a pass rusher, but he looks really light. He looks really, really light as far as, he's what is he, 240, 245?
Yeah, he just looks like a lean, fragile edge player.
Yeah, and they got the medical history going on with that. Yeah,
he's a high-end rusher, though. He's got
Adonai Mitchell, and then
he's good. Sorry, who else they get?
And then Matt Gonclaves.
From Pitt, okay.
Tanner Bortolini, center.
Tanner Bortolini from Wisconsin, the center. Who's
Anthony Gould, the speedy
little tiny speedster from Oregon State.
Jalen Carlisle's or Carly's.
Carly's from Missouri, who's a safety at Missouri, but he's probably a linebacker in the NFL. He's fast. That's a good one. Who else?
Jalen Simpson, Micah Abraham, and Jonah Lelu.
Oh, well, we'll see. I thought they got somebody good after the draft, too. Didn't the Colts get a good undrafted free agent?
I don't know. I didn't know anything about their undrafted free agents. I just knew about some of the draft picks they had.
Man, that the way that Colts season ended last year with that incomplete pass.
Well, that's one of those situations where they put it in a 4-string bag. Larry, damn good. Well, I know, it's the same thing like you said with Kyle. Your deep, the reason why we took the ball first, just so our defense was gassed. that's the point. You take who carries your gas? It's like the last it could be your last play of your fucking season and shit, and and you
That
just bring in
Colts
a
that
guy that
Colts
wasn't ready.
series though, when their season ended, it's like the lack of urgency on second down from their running back. I mean, Jonathan Taylor, bro, you were a 2,000-yard back. You're 220 pounds. It's second down in like a series where you have to get the first, and he ran out of bounds voluntarily on second down. It's like, dude, bury your head and go for the sticks. You're a 220-pound back. That right there, I thought was very defining. I know everybody blames who's the kid who dropped it on fourth down?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, they
blame that guy, but in reality, it was Jonathan Taylor not going for voluntarily running out of bounds on second down with like 4 yards to go. That was I saw that and I'm like, wow, they're not going to get the first. Watch, they're not going to get the first. Sure enough, they didn't get the first.
You can see it with some of these quarterbacks in their eyes. Like they start like folding under pressure. You could see it through Gardner Minshew's eyes. He's like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, seriously. And now he's a Raider.
Yeah.
The Colts also got Keaton Slovis.
No, he stinks. He's awful. Keaton Slovis, who transferred from BYU to SC. He's absolute garbage. Don't like him at all. Alan, what's the big haps tonight at Coles? Things went dark. All of a sudden, things went dark. Are you
VTO today, man? I got a little day off.
Oh, a little vacation. We already talked about that. That's right. So you're at home. Who's your favorite draft choice for the Niners?
I think Green is my favorite draft choice. I like for me, I like the physicality off of some players, and I know it could bite you in the ass sometimes with them PI calls and stuff, but I feel like he's worth the risk that we're taking with him because of how physical he is. Look what he did with Neighbors and stuff.
Yeah, Neighbors seriously, he did a nice job defending Neighbors in those LSU.
That was
receivers.
week 1 too. Yeah, week 1.
Alan, we're gonna jump. We got a full house tonight. Bunch of people sitting back there saying, "I got to get in. I got to get in. I got to get in." You got a final word on the on your way out the door?
I don't know if a final word, but have a good rest of your night, Larry, and everybody in this call. Have a good one.
Appreciate you, brother. There you go, Alan from Coles in Indianapolis. What do you call you?
Everybody else in this call. Just me.
And
it's okay.
The others. Thank you. No, way to go, Alan. We love you, brother. Who should we go to, Kev? Who do you want to go to?
I'll go Giannis. Giannis, you there?
Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
Giannis, we got you, but we can't see you.
Yeah. Because, it's like I'm in Norway,
You're in Norway?
All right.
Yeah.
You're where? You're in Norway.
Yeah, I'm from Norway.
Are you at a waterfall? It sounds, or are you urinating right now?
No, I'm not. It's just maybe, are you hearing the computer because it's like charging?
Oh, okay. No problem.
Okay.
Just wanted to make sure it wasn't a urination sensation type situation.
Are there no cameras in Norway? Because when we asked you if you didn't have a camera, it's like, no, I'm in Norway.
No. I do have it. It's just like, we're in Norway, so it's like really, really dark outside. So it's like, it's almost very hard to see anything.
In Norway, on a Norway camera, you look like a gigantic L.
It's actually, I am actually really tall, so maybe
So give us, Giannis, give us your rundown.
Okay.
What's your thought? Good to talk to you.
Okay, so I have 2 things that I want to check in on. I don't know which one you guys want to start on. First, the draft. I have thoughts about the draft, and then I have thoughts about the O-line. Because
let's start with the draft, and then we'll get to the O-line.
Okay, the draft. Okay, here's what I think.
We'll be like the Niners. We'll put off the O-line.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so the draft, here's what I thought about the draft. Ricky Pearsall, like everybody else, I was surprised. But the more I dug into the pick, I'm like, and this is not a case of like coping, they say the stages of grief. No, honestly, I have come to this conclusion that this guy, he's a possession receiver who gets separation. And he's like the perfect type of receiver for Purdy. Like, if you want to get the ball out quickly. You want a receiver who has really short hands and gets open. And that is literally what Ricky Pearsall is. Now,
Smart
the
call.
knock on him is the knock that we have seen on other receivers coming out of the draft. We've seen it on Brandon Ayuk, we've seen it on Justin Jefferson, and which is, getting stronger when you get knocked off your route. But to me, that's something that to me, that's fixable in the league. And I'm not really too worried about that because the two things that are the most important for a receiver are hands and separation. And he's really good at it. So I really like
no,
that.
I like the pick as well. I mean, I think none of us necessarily had Ricky Pearsall at the top of the list, but man, when you do the deep dive and you look at those, you look at the way he runs routes and the ball skills, and you see how he operates in the middle of the field. Then you mix in the 4.4 speed, the 42-inch vert. Now he's got Brock Purdy, who loves to operate in the middle of the field. I think this is the kind of pick that potentially could make them a lot better on third down and make Brock Purdy, that much more effective. So I think it's an effective pick, but we'll see how it all shakes out. We're gonna. I feel like once I get a look at him on the field against the other athletes, I can give you guys a much better assessment of how he stacks up athletically against the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, Giannis, I agree with you there. Like, I had the same thought process as you. I was surprised by the pick, but you're right. My biggest issues or biggest concerns about Pearsall is him getting off the line and staying on his feet. But he's not their number one guy. He's not going to have a guy press man on him the entire game from the outside. He's going to be probably primarily in the slot, and you're not really going to see a lot of press man coverage all the time from the slot. And I just think he's going to be able to get off the line. I can't think of any receiver that is just is a great receiver but just can't get off the line. I think he's going to be able to find a way to get around that.
Yeah, I don't think it's even like a big issue because I saw his success rate against press man was like 60%, which is average.
Right.
Like, it's not bad, it's not great, it's average. And if you are great at other things, you can be average at one thing, and to me, that's acceptable. I mean, if Debo, those 11 targets, if he caught 5 of them, the Niners win that game instead of 3. So it's like you just got to be average against the thing you're bad at. Like, and Debo, unfortunately, he kind of, his biggest weakness was kind of exposed in that game. But
I wonder how healthy Debo was, because I mean, literally, I saw him days before that getting ready to go out to practice, and it's taken him everything in his power to even get his jersey on. So, he wasn't 100%. He hurt that shoulder somewhere down the stretch. It limited him for sure.
Yeah, but I will tell you though, Larry, that even in the regular season, Debo ranked like 100-something in yards per route run against man. So that was not Debo's not great against man coverage. Like, that is a real thing. So
no, there's not a lot of refinement to his route running.
Yeah.
He is a run after the catch monster.
Yeah.
Who's just decent as a route runner.
And the biggest head scratcher from the Super Bowl was the fact that the Chiefs were playing press man coverage, and Kyle Shanahan was scheming up Deebo Samuel on these like slant routes when he's not your press man beater. It's Ayuk. So that was kind of one of the big head scratchers from the Super Bowl.
And a lot of them were on third down, which is like, those are like, if you don't get them, you're off the field or you're kicking a field goal. That to me was the biggest letdown. It's like third down. Like, so it's just,
yeah. I mean, I'll tell you the one opportunity they had, Debo had a step on McDuffie on the post down the middle. Purdy put it on his hands, but you get sometimes, there's an old saying, that's why they get paid as well. McDuffie closed the ground at the end and got the PBU. It was a terrific play by McDuffie. I thought it was one of the best plays of the Super Bowl defensively for Kansas City. So, you heard Spagnuolo telling Baldy and Gargano on that podcast after the Super Bowl that, man, you take away Snead and McDuffie, you take away a ton. Those two guys absolutely were the difference in that game. They smothered Ayuk and Debo, took away the Niner passing attack, and at least Spags credited those two DBs for all the creativity that they could utilize because they knew those guys could lock up the Niner receivers and did.
But the thing is, Larry, is that happened in the second half. in the first half, the game should be 20-3 or something like that.
Yeah.
So this game should have been
Fumble.
out of hand basically because they didn't play press man in the first half. They played off coverage for the most part, and they were getting sliced and diced in the zone coverage. So it is what it is. Like you can't
Yeah.
just harp on it. Now the other picks, I see. Usually I know about receivers, so I can't really comment on Renardo Green or Malik Mustafa or what's his name, the lineman that they picked. But
Mooney.
I do, yeah, Purdy. I do like his versatility, and I like Cowan. Like you know who he gives me the vibes of. Do you think Shanahan is trying to get his like, what's that small receiver that he had in Atlanta? I'm trying to remember his name.
Taylor Gabriel.
Taylor Gabriel. Like maybe that's what Cowan is gonna be. The guy who catches like 3 catches a game, but they're like for 60 yards or something like that. Maybe he's gonna be that type of guy.
I think Cowing's got potential to be better than that.
Yeah, yeah.
I really do. I really do. We'll see, though. But you're right. I think that's a good call. You know, he's looking for that small slot, quick guy that, you know, can really be, you know, a continuity piece and make some big plays. I think that's exactly what he's looking for. So what's your thought on the O-line?
Okay. So now I have the stats right in front of me. So this is allowed pressure rate, allowed pressure share of responsibility in 2023. So this is basically left guard, left tackle, guard, obviously center, sorry, right guard, right tackle, and the quarterback. This is the percentage of the pressures that the team face that they are responsible for. So I'm just going to give you the numbers of each on the Niners, okay?
Right.
Left tackle, 12%. That's not a surprise. Left guard, that's Banks, 20%. Center, 16%. That's Brendel. Right guard, here it's 2 different guys. So Burford, 27%. But Feliciano, 14%. Then you got right tackle, McKivitz obviously, 26%. Purdy was responsible for just 13% of the pressure space. So all in all, the thing that I've noticed the most is that the biggest weaknesses for the Niners was not that McKivitz was bad, because if you look at the right tackles in the league, most of them are in the 20s, Larry. So most right tackles in the league are not great. There's a reason they're playing right tackle. So to me, I'm not really going to harp on that, especially considering how cheap he is. But Burford was a disaster. And Banks, 20%. Like, I feel like he kind of skates away from criticism, maybe because he plays next to Chet, but that is a really high number, in my opinion, for somebody that the fan base looks at because he's that good. What are your thoughts when you hear these numbers?
Yeah, I mean, I do think Banks is pretty solid. He did play a couple of those games pretty hurt. I know one of those games he probably played with a concussion. Burford, there's no doubt, regressed significantly. I like Burford as a prospect. I mean, he's really body type. He's what you're looking for. When I talk to him, he's very intelligent. I just think that he had kind of like a sophomore slump. He shared that right guard spot with Brunskill 2 years ago. It worked well. This year, he shared the right guard spot with Feliciano. I thought Feliciano outplayed him. The fact that Burford went to combo block on Brendel's man and allowed a free run of Chris Jones at the quarterback is borderline unforgivable in some ways. I mean, how do you let Chris Jones, the most destructive man on the planet, have a free run at your quarterback in a key situation in a big game of that magnitude? So that was a mental mistake and a breakdown. But I do still like Burford, and I think Burford, you know, has the potential to evolve into a starting caliber player. But it's go time for him. I mean, literally, Burford, Zakel, you know, there's a couple offensive linemen, McKivitz, Brendel. I mean, there's guys that, you know, it's like there's some better competition in this camp, or there will be this summer, than they've had in past years. And so some of these guys who haven't played up particularly well, who have been kind of on scholarship because of the lack of talent, now are going to have a run for their job. And, you know, they always say competition's a good thing. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. And also, to me, especially when you consider a quarterback like Purdy, who's like 6 feet, to me, interior pressure is way more dangerous for me than like outside, because he has shown that he can actually escape from outside pressure. interior pressure is deadly for somebody
Yeah,
that's not
no
big
question,
to
no
begin
question.
with.
Because he also has a tendency to want to slip out the back door, which you can't really do in the pros, because you just can't. It's too hard to make. You can make a negative, hugely negative play that kills your entire drive. Hey, we appreciate it, man. We're gonna jump. We got a whole room full of people, but good stuff.
Yeah.
I like those comments, and thanks for listening and watching out in Norway. I would imagine there's not a lot of Spencer Burford talk on
No,
the
there's
streets there
not.
in
So,
Norway.
so this was much appreciated. But I do have one prediction when it comes to the next season, and you guys
Yeah.
better note this down, okay?
Okay, write
Okay.
this down, Kev.
Okay. I say that Purdy will be close to 5,000 yards passing next season. That's my prediction.
A 1 p.m. start time at Levi's is what time in Norway?
10 p.m. for us.
10 p.m. Wow. So you're staying up late for some of those games.
Well, that's why, and it's gonna get worse this year because we have so many primetime games. I'm expecting 6 at least, so it's gonna be really bad. I might skip some of those games, but so yeah.
Prime
time-
games start at. Is that 4
what's a
o'clock in the
prime
morning
time?
for
5
you?
o'clock.
I
5
mean,
o'clock.
no, it's
it's the morning.
2 a.m. 2:30
Oh.
2:30 a.m.
There you go. Well,
So it really is not like, unless it's a Thursday night football, because Friday I usually don't work on Fridays, so that I can watch that. But the others I really can't watch them. So yeah, it's tough being a fan so far with it.
I'm telling you, yeah. Well, hey man, have a great night. Thanks for supporting the channel. We appreciate you. Go Niners.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
There you go. We're big in Norway. Who knew?
That's one of our first international calls, I think.
Definitely, yeah. Seriously, and there was definitely. It sounded like he was at Niagara Falls, huh?
Yeah, I know. He might have been out. Yeah, he was.
Sounded like he was
in
river
nature.
rafting or he was in nature. Yeah. All right, who do we go to next?
Jeff Clark.
Where is he?
Yo, what's good, Larry? What's up, Kev?
What's up, Jeff? How
How
are
you
you, man?
doing?
Do you have a camera or no?
No.
All right. Well, fire away. What's your question or comment?
Yeah, big fan of the show. Big fan of the show.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, just wanted to
Where
say,
where are
man,
you? Where are you calling from? Are you in the Bay Area? Or are you somewhere else?
I'm actually in South Carolina.
Nice. What part of
Okay.
South Carolina?
Believe it or not, like right near where Malik Mustafa came out of high school, in Charlotte.
There you go.
Okay.
So yeah, I was pretty excited when we got him.
Isn't Charlotte in North Carolina?
So I actually stay in South Carolina, but like we kind of consider it like both, I guess.
Okay. I always look at pictures of those Outer Banks in North Carolina, and I think, man, that looks like an awesome spot.
Yeah. You've never been up here?
No, I've never been to North Carolina. Well, let me
Oh.
think. No, I've probably been
For a
through.
Panthers
No,
game or
never been on the coast in North Carolina at all. I'd love to go check it out. So, what's
Oh,
on your
okay.
mind, man? What's what do you want to talk about tonight?
Yeah, so obviously the title, you had it said like, do you think the Niners will get over the hump this year? Or,
Yeah.
And Larry, I think you hit it on the head a couple months ago. The reason why the Niners, or one of the main reasons why they haven't been able to get over the hump, is their first round picks over the last couple of years. They just haven't hit on them.
Yeah.
I mean,
They've gotten remarkably little out of their first round picks.
Brandon Ayuk
in
and
this-
Nick Bosa.
well,
in
Nick
this
Bosa
regime.
picked him. Nick Bosa picked himself. You know,
Right.
that's
That was the second pick.
Brandon
anybody could've-
Ayuk. Then Brandon Ayuk was a good pick.
Well, yeah, but yeah, true. But like in the last 3 years, you know, last year we didn't even have a first round pick.
Well, I mean, I haven't had one for a couple of years because of Trey.
Right.
So they made the big mistake with Trey. They reached like crazy for McGlinchey. They swung and missed horribly with Solomon Thomas and Reuben Foster. Are we missing one in there? Is there another one?
What happened? Blanking.
Who else?
Kinlaw.
Kinlaw, yeah.
geez. Yeah.
Kinlaw, let's not talk about that. He's a good dude, but I mean, it didn't work out. So
Forrest Buckner
Yeah, I
and
mean,
in the meantime, during the midst of all that, the Chiefs got Trent McDuffie in the first round.
I know.
Rashee Rice, like they've been hitting on
Nick
all their first-
Bolton, Willie Gay. I mean, they hit.
George
Veach was hitting.
Karlaftis, like
Karloftis.
Like
not
if you
to-
want to
yeah.
win the Super Bowl, you obviously need those star players. Like you need your Mahomes or McCaffrey or your Bosa, but you also have to have a couple rookies or a couple second-year players that make a difference immediately. They don't have to be stars, but they have to be impact players year 1, year 2.
Yeah, they can't be zeros. If they're zeros, you're taking a step back.
And
It's really remarkable that when you think about the Niners' success, then they're doing this despite the fact they're not hitting in the first round. Imagine, I mean, usually you would think, I mean, like Detroit's coming on. Well, yeah, because they're drafting Aiden Hutchinson and
right.
Panay Sewell and Brian
Is-
Branch, and I mean, you name it.
Because they're getting
Jahmyr
first round
Gibbs.
caliber players in the 5th round.
Yeah, I mean they're kicking butt. The Niners are finding George Kittle and DJ Jones and Brock Purdy, and only those day 3 finds are the only thing keeping this team really in that top tier.
Yeah, and I hate to say it. I know you gave our draft this year a B plus.
Yeah, I mean I think it was probably a B plus. I mean I didn't. I mean, I was hoping that they would go. To me, they needed to go on the line of scrimmage earlier.
Larry,
I don't think they needed Pearsall and Cowing.
Right.
I think they needed one or the other. I would have liked to see them go Zach Frazier.
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of people gave Atlanta bad grades for taking Rook Ororo, but let's see in 3 years if people are saying that. Rook Ororo is a bad man. He would have been a very nice addition.
They were giving Atlanta a bad grade because they drafted Penix at 8.
But I mean, also people were like, well, they reached for Ororo. Well, you know what? According to who? I mean, the guy's raw, but he was also he was a good football player and he was a menace at the combine. That guy's easily one of the better defensive line prospects that was in this draft.
Yeah, I hate to say it. As of right now, I got to give our draft overall a D plus, maybe a C minus.
D plus. Wow.
Wow, that's coming in hot. That's coming in hot.
Well, who did you didn't like it? Who didn't you like? You don't like Pearsall?
So I'll go over who I like or who I love Malik Mustafa. I think he's going to be. I mean, I like Jair, I like Kufunga, but I think Malik's going to be the best safety on our team in about 2-3 years.
Okay, I can see that.
So I love that pick, and to get him in the 4th round is incredible. I love Renardo Green.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, there's a couple players that I like, and there's a couple that I don't even think we should have drafted. Like I like some of our undrafted free agents more than the guys that we drafted.
You're not a Garendo guy.
No, I think Cody Schrader's. He's way better than Garendo. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'm with you. I mean,
no debating.
I think Cody Schrader's better than Garendo. I think Cowing's better than Pearsall.
Yeah,
we'll find out. We'll find out. But they're Cowing, Pearsall are a little bit different. They both, I think, are going to be effective. But I definitely, if you said put everything you got on one of those 2 receivers, I'll take Cowing. If you said bet on everything you got on one of the 2 running backs, I'll take Schrader.
And you know what? Drake Nugent might even have a chance to start over Brindle.
It's funny. I like Drake Nugent when he was at Stanford, and he was all Big Ten this year. He really got worked by Michael Hall in that Buckeyes game, and I kind of question his ability to deal with anybody that has real speed. But as far as strength, smarts, accountability, he's a little on the short side. They're looking for 6'3", 6'4". He's more like 6'1". But yeah, the guy's pretty tough.
Offense. It was pro-style offense in Michigan and Stanford.
Yeah,
but
no question.
I mean, at this point, I just want to switch up at that center position. I mean, Zach Frazier would have been that's what everybody agrees that's who we should have took at 31. Like, I don't care if Jerry Rice is sitting there at 31. We don't need a receiver. I mean, you should have taken a center.
That's a little.
I know.
Yeah, Jerry, we would all would have taken Jerry.
Right. But
I hear what you're saying. I mean, Zach Frazier was a plug and play. I mean, the Steelers have been one of the best drafting teams in pro football for the last 25 years.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Kevin Colbert, now Omar Khan, and they got Fatanu, Zach Frazier, and Mason McCormick.
Yep.
In my mind, they got 3.
They got
Roman Wilson and Roman Wilson, and they got Beanie Bishop after the draft. They got Deshaun Edwards after the draft. I mean, the Steelers had a nice little draft. They really did.
They had a great draft. They had a great offseason. I mean,
though there's a lot of talk they want to trade our boy Najee, and I would love to see Najee here. I had him on my radio show, several times through the years. His agent is a buddy of mine. He's a local guy. Kev actually played high school ball against Najee, right? Wasn't Najee on that Antioch team?
No, I never played against him, but he was a
He was
senior. when I
putting up like
Your
2K
school did,
yards
though.
every
Your
year.
school did.
Yeah, the year before.
But I mean, Najee's not a fit for the Niners system.
No,
He's not fast enough.
he's a more of a guy that like.
But
he
I'd
gets
love to
more
have him on
yards
my
as he
team,
goes.
man.
Yeah.
What a horse he is running the ball.
Yeah, he's a bell cow.
Big back. I hope he doesn't go to Dallas.
But the thing that the reason why I give it like a D or a C plus is because like even if Ricky Pearsall works out, you still got to look at it that there were like 3 other receivers taken behind him.
Who'd you like?
Leggett for the Panthers.
Yeah, I like Leggett too. I mean, Leggett to me looked an awful lot like A.J. Brown, but I understand as far as refinement, this guy is more ready to go than Leggett. But I'll say this, if Leggett has a monster rookie year,
that's going to look bad.
That's going to look really bad because he's big, strong, fast, and he's going to have a very good career. And the reason not to take Leggett was he was a 1-year starter, really a 1-year production guy at South Carolina. And maybe there was going to be a ramp-up period, and the Niners are inside the Super Bowl window. So if he plays well as a rookie, that's going to be a bad omen.
I feel like the reason why a lot of these this specific draft wasn't super exciting is just because it felt more like a supplementary draft. It felt like they were specifically adding players that helped them in certain positions. Like Ricky Pearsall, they weren't going to go for the next wide receiver 1. They're going for Ricky Pearsall, who's going to be a really, really solid slot receiver for them.
And I don't think that's what first round picks should ever be, regardless of even the Chiefs. Like they're like, oh, okay, we're the new dynasty, but we're still taking a player that's going to help us this year. That's not going to be a compliment. Like Xavier Worthy's probably going to be their number 2, number 3 guy. Like
supposedly Mahomes wanted him and he's going to stretch the field. I mean, just ask yourself this though. The Niners are seeing, I mean, it's obvious what's going on here. And this is the NFL. And the NFL is the ultimate copycat league. Brock Purdy's a smallish veteran quarterback who the Niners found 2 years ago. So last year, what happened? All these smallish guys like Stetson Bennett get drafted because people are dreaming the Brock Purdy dream. Well, who was the big rookie story this year? Puka Nacua. So who gets, inflated value as the draft comes around the next year after that? The Puka Nacua, lights. And this is Pearsall. So, but all I would say is this. If you knew that Puka was Puka, would you take him in the first round? Hell yeah. The guy set the rookie record for receptions. So, if this guy is, a Puka Nacua guy who can give you tons of receptions, then great. I question whether or not he's tough enough to really live across the middle in the NFL. I want to see more college production. We'll see. Well, we're going to see what he looks like. Can he separate against NFL caliber corners? As Kev said, can he play the game on his feet? These are all big questions.
The thing that's concerning, his 10-yard split is a 1.57. Like that's
not great, but I'll say this. I mean, it's not terrible either. His 20-yard split was 98th percentile, according to Greg Cosell. I heard him say it today.
Okay. So
so we'll see. We'll see.
I mean, he's athletic. He's definitely athletic.
Who's your comp to? Who's your NFL comp for Ricky?
Mine's a more athletic Adam Thielen.
Yeah, I don't see Adam Thielen.
I was kind of thinking that too.
I think he's better than Adam Thielen in some ways, as far as I think he's moves better than Thielen moved. It's not a bad one. I don't know. That's a tough. I would say he kind of reminds me a little bit of maybe like a Tyler Lockett, where
that's a good one.
If he's running his route, he's a hard guy to defend, and he's got really good ball skills. Probably, who he kind of reminds me of, and you may go, oh, this is low end, but he really did have a nice little run there for a few years. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Danny Amendola. you remember Danny Amendola, who played for the Rams? And he was a really, really, really tough cover with great footwork and great ball skills. And there was a time where Amendola was really unstoppable, but it was short-lived. His body got beaten up, and eventually it kind of petered out. And that would be my concern for this guy, is that how long can he go making plays in the middle of the field? But he's got a lot of that Amendola, as far as he can pick him up and put him down, and great change of direction and secondary moves. And, even though he's not the biggest guy, he gets off the line of scrimmage. He's tougher than you think. Great route runner. He reminds me of Amendola.
Only thing I'll say is that both of those guys are pretty short. I feel like you're comparing him to a lot of short guys. He's 6'1".
How big was Amendola? Isn't Amendola like 6 feet? Oh, maybe.
And Tyler Lockett's like 5'8" or something like that, right?
Yeah, he's much smaller.
Yeah, a lot of people are comparing him to Thielen too. And the thing I'll say is, like, isn't Thielen a touchdown machine?
Well, he was, for sure.
And Ricky only had like 4 touchdowns, and that was his best year in college, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, they also, he was their number one guy. They didn't have great quarterback play. They were much more of a running team, I think. So I think that those factors played a part. But yeah, to me, it's a little bit of a projection on, dreaming the Puka dream that this guy can be the guy who just, catches every 3rd and 4 pattern and keeps you on the field. And
I hope he can get on the field though, with what we got in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and seriously, if he's playing, that means Juwan Jennings isn't playing, and if he's playing, that so we'll see. I mean, I have hope for Cowing and for Pearsall, but you're right. I mean, it makes you wonder when you look at the top 3 receivers how much those guys will actually get on the field. So there's definitely going to be, it's definitely gonna be a battle for playing time at wide receiver. No question about that. Hey man, let us jump, Jeff, because we got other people that need to get in here. But
yeah,
we appreciate you, brother. Have a good one.
Yeah, thanks
I
for
love
calling in.
you and David, dude. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Who's next, Kev?
We got 2 callers left. Here's Trevor, our boy Trevor.
What's up, Trevor? How are you, man?
Good. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're doing good. Where are you calling from?
Michigan.
Detroit.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You've
Yeah,
called
yeah.
us before.
Yeah,
You're the Niner fan locking it down in Michigan.
Yeah, I didn't end up attending the draft. I had a lot of other stuff going on. I was already in Detroit like a day earlier to go fishing. So
It's okay. You're the only person in Detroit that didn't go.
Right. Yeah, it was loaded. There was like 150,000 people. I was looking at it and I'm like, that's crazy.
Maybe you could get a business card. I was the guy that didn't attend the draft in Detroit.
Right.
So what'd you think of it?
I was underwhelmed. I think that's the best way to put it.
Interesting.
We had some good picks there in the later rounds, but when you're in your window, I think you can be a little bit more aggressive. Move up, lock in some of those picks for sure. And then you're not stuck at 31, reaching for a player that you probably didn't have a 1st-round grade on. I think he'll pan out. I mean, I think he'll be good, maybe especially on 3rd down. He can be another guy out of the slot with sure hands. But yeah, I'd say I was a little bit underwhelmed. They didn't do too much, so that's kind of where I was at with it.
Yeah, only thing I liked Howie Roseman's draft from the standpoint of he got what he wanted up front, and then he strategically traded back, and he wound up with, a bunch of picks, a lot of talent, and like 3 additional picks in next year's draft. And I thought Philly did a masterful job of kind of playing the draft value wise. I mean, I think they got great value with Quinyon Mitchell. They got great value with Cooper DeJean. I thought Philly did a nice job.
Yeah, when Cooper DeJean was on the board and he was available and we didn't pick him, I was like, man, he's going somewhere. Someone. Yeah, I mean,
and Howie and the Eagles are like, they answered that question right up front. They're like, a lot of question was, a lot of people questioned, is he a corner? Is he a safety? They're like, he's a corner.
Right.
So they're playing him at corner. So, I mean, look what they had a really bad pass D against Tampa in the playoffs. My God, it looked like a joke. They had those two guys up, in their secondary. That's going to help immeasurably for Philly.
Yeah, and Detroit too. I think they drafted
Terrion
some
Arnold.
secondary players. Yeah, Arnold.
Yeah.
Arnold, Ray Straw. They got a Meek Robertson. They got another corner in free agency. I forget who it was.
Yeah, so their secondary is going to be improved as well. And
Yeah.
another thing
their
about
D
the draft,
and their defensive front too. They added Davenport and DJ Reader. Didn't they get Mekhi Wingo, or am I thinking of somebody else? They did. And they got Mahogany from Boston College, who's just a brawling guard who's super tough and nasty to go, potentially on to add to one of the best offenses, because they lost Jonah Jackson to the Rams. So
they got Giovanni Manu.
Yeah, who's he's probably a major stab project. But I mean, Mahogany in the 6th round, I thought was phenomenal. I mean, I would be shocked if he doesn't start for them at some juncture.
Oh, yeah. And another thing about the draft that I think about too, you want to get players that can help your team in the now and in the future. Maybe trade back, get some extra draft picks. But another thing too is, taking players so another team can't, use that player to fix a hole in their team. So you're trying to, not let other teams get players that are going to make it harder on you later.
What was your favorite Niner pick?
Oh, the only thing I'll say about that is it gets a little confusing if you're playing
It does.
if you're playing the draft for someone else. Like if you're trying to galaxy brain what this person
trying to block, you gotta go. You only have so many, time opportunities to fill needs on your team. It's hard enough to keep up with the evolution of your 53-man roster than to sit there and really make picks to block others. I mean, I would do it, though, in the most unique situation. I mean, you don't want certain special players getting on certain teams, but it's hard to play the draft that way,
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. It's not the Hollywood Squares where I'll take the X to block, it's like it's
right.
It's you don't have that many picks.
Yeah, I like Purdy for the on the offensive line just because of his versatility. Strong guy. He's played a lot of positions along the offensive line. So, even if we slot him in at right guard and he takes over for Burford, that's not a right tackle, but it still is a position of need that can improve our offensive line potentially. So, that's encouraging that at least our offensive line should hopefully be a little bit better than it was last year. And then also with the continuity of keeping players, you hope that, they grow together and they get a little bit better as well. So there's a little bit of hope there. So he's probably my favorite pick of the draft. But I also like the Renardo Green pick. I think having that press corner is going to be really nice.
No doubt. And maybe he can play a little free safety if they don't like the other guys there. So there's versatility there. I just like how Mustafa and Green are leaders back there and real tough guys. To me, I thought those were two really nice picks that added a lot of leadership on the back end. I mean, you got to know the personality types of these guys. And I think those two guys, not just are talented, but also have the personality to kind of take leadership roles back there. And that's big because they, you only have, let's say, one pick or two picks to invest at corner or really in any position, safety. And they invested one in a corner and one in a safety. And I think they hit on both. So I think that's going to be an area to watch for this summer. How much does Green and Mustafa, how much playing time do they get on this defense in year one?
Yeah,
hey, man, let us jump because we got one more and Kev's got to go study.
Yeah, sure. Real quick, I did want to mention something I forgot last time.
Yeah.
Just kind of a funny little story for you. My dad used to be like a photographer, like the photographer development in the big casinos in Lake Tahoe.
Right.
And he had a run-in with the Joe Montana he was telling me about that was pretty funny. So he was, walking down the street with his buddy, and Joe Montana was probably 10 steps in front of him. And he's telling his friend, like, hey, look, that's Joe Montana. And his friend's like, oh, yeah, it is. And my dad said something like, yeah, look how pretty his wife is. And Joe turned around and gave him the stink eye because, he's protective of his wife and whatnot.
Right.
So my dad was telling me that. So I thought that was pretty funny. Not that he had any bad intentions, but just he was
Stay away
pointing
from
it
my
out.
lady.
Right.
He's you can say what you want about me, but if you mention my wife, I think they're protective over one another. I've heard rumors that she's very protective over him. So,
I'm sure, yeah.
so there you go. Maybe, when you got so many people pulling you in different directions, you probably, get antenna up for anything like that. But hey, man, appreciate you. Have a great night. Thanks for jumping in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks,
I
Trevor.
think he showed me a picture also real quick. Either he developed it or he took it, or he did both. He did one of the two, but it was of John Elway and Dan Marino up there. So that was pretty cool too to see
Nice.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
All right, take care, guys.
Later, man.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Trevor.
you. There you go.
Always a good
Dad
call
was
with Trevor.
was peeping Jennifer Montana, and Joe's not having that. Should we go to the last one here? Who's our last caller
Yeah.
here?
Alex Conklin.
Alex, how are you, brother?
I'm doing well. How are you? Can you hear me?
We got
Yeah.
you. Where are you calling from?
I'm in Illinois.
What part of Illinois? My mom's from there.
Bloomington, if you know where that is.
No, actually, I don't. Is it southern?
Yeah, so it's about 90 minutes southeast of Chicago, or southwest of Chicago.
Nice. Well, what's on your mind?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to. I think that there was a lot of unnecessary immediate overreaction from the 49ers draft this year. I would actually give it an A, and the number one reason being is I think that I think at this point that we could trust Shanahan and Lynch to know what they're doing. I mean, this was the first ever offense to have four players from scrimmage gain 1,000 yards. I mean, their football is in the Hall of Fame. That's something to be said for relying and the number one weakness. I mean, what was everybody saying going up against Kansas City's defense about the 49ers wide receivers that we have now? What was the number one complaint?
Well, I mean, after the game or going into the game?
And it was during the game. It was both and after. It was the problem with Debo and Ayuk not getting open.
Right.
The only person that was getting any play was Jennings. And I think that getting a guy. I mean, what's the goal this year? The goal this year is to beat Kansas City. So I don't care who they took in the first round, but to have that guy that I think is going to be, that's going to be able to be that middle of the field specialist. I think that's going to fit. That's going to fill a massive hole. And I don't think that, I know that there's a lot of projection that he's going to be the guy that's going to replace Debo. I don't see that. I think that, I think that Shanahan now has a quarterback that is an elite top 5 quarterback in the league. And I think that his offense is going to start evolving this year, and we're going to see more passing. And I think that Ricky Pearsall is going to be that guy that's going to be going over the middle and getting open and getting those yards. And I don't think that it's going to really sacrifice anybody else. I think that you're still going to see everybody else have their position. But I do see Ayuk, Ayuk, Debo, Jennings, and Pearsall being the wide receivers that are going to get the lion's share of the production this year when it comes to the wide receiver group. But I don't see this draft, being something that's going to be dependent on the future. I think that we're going to actually see it come to fruition pretty quickly. And that was a theme from this year's draft is they're getting guys that have experience. And I know. I mean, do you think Purdy has the capability to be a right tackle? Do you see him filling in that spot at all?
Well, I mean, maybe down the road, but I think when I look at him, I mean, to me, he looks like a guard. He looks like a guard, a right guard or a left guard, and I think he has potential to be really nasty and really aggressive. Maybe a right guard would be perfect in the run game. I'm eager to see Purdy kind of inject himself into the Burford, Feliciano right guard competition and maybe win it. I mean, he was a third round draft choice. He was a veteran, guy who played a lot of college football. He's versatile. He's played a lot of spots, so he's probably, and he's got the right mindset. I mean, he's really aggressive, wants to get in there. I'm looking forward to that competition. I think he'll be if he's as good, if he's a good third round pick, he'll beat those guys out and get a starting job.
Yeah. And I got it. A lot of all has also been made of the way too early power rankings. But after Purdy's his season this last year, how would you rank him? Like, if you were going to put him in a scale 1 to 10, who are the quarterbacks right now that you would still consider above Brock Purdy, and why?
I I think the why is obvious. It's because they're more accomplished and they've, but I have Brock really high. I've had him as a top 10 guy. I would say it's probably more like top 6 or 7. But as far as just off the top of my head, guys I'd rather have Mahomes. I'd rather have Josh Allen. I'd rather have Joe Burrow. And there's only a couple others other than that. I mean, I'm not sure about Herbert. I mean, I know Herbert's I know he's the prototype, but I'm not sure. I mean, I got to see him do more. But I'm not sure. I think Brock Purdy's better than Jalen Hurts. I said that a couple of years ago. People laughed. Now Jackson. That's kind of Lamar Jackson. I think is better than Brock Purdy for sure. I mean, Lamar was. Now.
But if you take away, and that's like
Lamar didn't get it done in the playoffs, though. I mean,
exactly
in the playoffs.
Exactly. So, and that's.
But you got to respect the MVP. You got to respect and the fact that he played so well against the Niners in that game on Christmas.
Yeah, but and this is like one of the crazier stats that I saw. And I know that everybody hates it when I say it, but I mean, I think that Brock Purdy was snubbed for MVP, and it's a very, very easy, discussion to have when you actually parse out what Brock Purdy did in terms of his production, efficiency, stats, accuracy.
Brock Purdy was top 3 in every quarterback statistical category as a second-year player. He's much, much better than the public thinks or thought. I would say he's to me, he's closer to the top 5 than the top 10. Let's just say that.
No, and I would agree with that. It's just always as a 49er fan, I see Brock Purdy, you hear of the legend of Joe Montana. What was he known for? He was known for the clutch gene. And at the same time, Joe Montana he never lost a Super Bowl. But there were seasons where he didn't make it to the Super Bowl, and it's funny that, we've always learned, we always know that, wins are not a quarterback stat. They can't be. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the discussion about whether or not Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, or anybody else is elite except for Patrick Mahomes, because none of those guys have made it as far and accomplished as much as Patrick Mahomes.
The other factor, everybody talks about, hey, look at Purdy's surrounding cast, and he's got Shanahan. It's amazing, too. When people want to rip Shanahan, Shanahan sucks. But when people want to rip Purdy, Shanahan's awesome. And then, and the other thing I think is kind of comical is, this whole conversation about, well, look at the surrounding cast. Look at his weapons. Joe Montana had John Taylor, Jerry Rice, Roger Craig, Brent Jones. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Steve Young had Tom Rathman, Ricky Waters, Jerry Rice, Brent Jones, John Taylor. I mean,
exactly. Yeah. So and look at
great quarterbacks. But outside of Brady, who had, and even Brady, Deion Branch won a Super Bowl MVP. Julian Edelman won a Super Bowl MVP. Randy Moss, a Hall of Famer. Gronk is a Hall of Famer. I mean, he had great weapons in New England too.
Okay, and then I guess I would say my other favorite guy from this year is I'm surprised he went undrafted, but is Cody Schrader. And it's so funny that Shanahan made that joke on KMBR that they're going to take a running back early, but the guy that they really like they're going to get undrafted. So and then it's just like I'm like, oh my god, and then it happened. And I mean, I was watching some of Cody Schrader's workout, that he put out on social
Yeah.
media,
And the
and just the
footwork
way that
is amazing.
oh my goodness, I can I can see him. I mean, if he ends up being what he looks like he may be, he's another guy that, like, they say that one of the cool things about Brock Purdy is everywhere he goes, he became he essentially became a champion, or he won. He turned the program around. And to have a guy like Cody Schrader go on as a walk on and become a runner up in the Heisman, I mean, that shows an amazing tenacity to be overlooked and doubted. And I think that that's a quality that I believe that Shanahan really values in his players. But if you were going to, if you were, and then the what would you say the number one thing is that you want to see evolve from Shanahan's offense this year?
I mean, for me, I would love to see them, play Garendo at fullback and
Yeah.
see if you could add the element of a 4-3, a 4-3 speed fullback. I mean, I'd be okay with moving on from Juszczyk and giving that job to Garendo and seeing what a 4-3 fullback looks like.
Would you move off of him this year, like before the season starts, or you mean
I
it?
would. I
Oh,
would
okay.
if it would. I don't know the cap advantages or disadvantages, but I mean, obviously, Juice redid his deal, so he's probably not going anywhere. But I see
Yeah.
Garendo as a fullback, and I only see them really keeping 5 backs, and I think that means somebody's going to have to go. And I'd like to retain the other guys and move off a Juice if I could.
Yeah, and then I know that a lot of people have kind of like I know that some people were kind of upset about the lack of the defensive line drafting this year, which is ironic because there was always a number one complaint. It's always a running joke. Oh, we're going to take an edge in the first round, and then all of a sudden when they don't, now it's a problem. So I found that kind of funny, but I think the reason
in football is like defensive line in football is like pitching in baseball. I mean, you literally can make the argument you never can have enough.
Yeah, and I really like, if you notice, I know that a lot of people are making light of the free agent additions to the defensive line, but I can tell you that, like, once I dove into what those guys' production were, like Jordan Elliott and the other kid from Cleveland, I think that adding those guys is brilliant because, number one, the guy from Cleveland, no, he
Jordan
wasn't really
Elliott.
much of. Was that Jordan Elliott? Who was the guy from? There was one that was more of a.
It was Malik Collins from.
Okay, he was
Houston.
from Texas.
Yeah,
or Houston, yes.
But I think Jordan Elliott was like top 6 last year PFF among defensive tackles against the run.
Exactly,
I think
exactly.
He's got a lot of potential.
I think that what we're going to see is with that addition. I know that a lot of people, are kind of poo-pooing on the addition of Jordan Elliott because the lack of production on sacks. But if he's top 6 and stopping the run, that's going to free up. That's going to free up Hargrave. That's going to free up, and I think that we're going to see massive production more from Hargrave. And I think that I don't think that Armstead is really going to be as much of a loss as people are making him out to be. I was never very high on Armstead as a fan. I mean, I didn't really. I was not a fan of him since we kept him over Buckner. I think that was a poor decision that this franchise has made. I think.
It was a cap. It was a cap decision.
They made
the wrong call. I mean, here's the rule they broke: you never trade anybody on your defensive front 7 that commands a double team. Who can see? You got a guy who commands a double team, defensive end, defensive tackle. You keep him. Because when you have one guy in your defensive line that commands a double team, now you got action. When you got 2 guys on your defensive line that cause a double team, now you got mismatches. So you never move off of the guy who draws double teams, and they did in Buckner to keep Armstead, and it burned him. It burned him because they, Kinlaw was not nearly as good. So hey, we gotta jump. We got to jump because Kev's got to study here, but appreciate you jumping in, man.
Yep. All right. Do it more often.
Alex. Thank you, Brand. Appreciate you. All right.
We got two super chats. Do you want to go through them?
Yeah. Here we go.
Oh, I got it. 49ers throwback says lots of QB debate. Brock Purdy or Jordan Love?
I like how they played in the playoffs. Jordan Love made the cardinal sin that you never make. Anybody who's ever played quarterback on any level knows that you don't want to be late over the middle, and that's what ended the Packers season. Brock Purdy led the comeback in that game and then led the comeback the next week against Detroit and then played pretty well in the Super Bowl, all things considered. And yet that's a debate. Jordan Love versus Purdy. I mean, Purdy, I think right now you'd have to say is better. Jordan Love's got a lot of potential for sure and got into a hot run last year and has some terrific young weapons and is going to be heard from. But I would say Purdy right now has to be considered better.
100%. Purdy's younger than Jordan Love. People don't know that. People don't remember that Purdy's younger than him.
We got another one here. Daza.
Daza0187 says, what makes you any more confident this season we could get it done this year? Our schedule is tougher and we've mostly made lateral moves.
Well, I disagree. Okay, let's go through it. Is saying goodbye to Randy Gregory and Chase Young and adding Leonard Floyd lateral? I don't think so. I think Leonard Floyd's better than those guys.
And Gross Matos.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, just on the edge for edge. I think you could maybe argue the Armstead for Elliott and Collins might be a lateral move. Armstead's a little bit more accomplished, but also he's older. They're younger, a little bit more upside. So I would say, I actually like that in the Niners' favor, but we'll say that's a little bit of a wash. But Leonard Floyd, to me, is the best edge rusher the Niners have had since D Ford, and maybe even better than D Ford. So to me, that's an upgrade. It's a downgrade going from Greenlaw to Jalen Graham or D Winters or, Devondre Campbell. So that's a little bit of a downgrade. But it's an upgrade in the secondary, adding 2 alpha young players in Renardo Green and Malik Mustafa. I think it's an upgrade on the offensive line, even though we don't know which of the 4 prospects are going to break through. I think they added a couple young players. Room. Yeah, they're better at receiver. Maybe they're not quite as good at tight end, but I'm a big fan of Mason Pline. I think they're deeper at running back. For sure. I mean, I really love Schrader, and I think Garendo's got potential to be a real impact fullback.
Purdy's first full off season.
Purdy's better. Theoretically, I think there's a chance that the defensive coordinator staff with Wilkes out and Sorensen in probably is a little bit of an upgrade. That would be my guess there. So I don't see lateral moves. I see a team that's deeper at the skill positions, deeper on the offensive line, younger and healthier on the defensive line, and more dynamic. I mean, the big impact is you have a dynamic guy opposite Nick Bosa. Leonard Floyd is 6'6", 245, and comes ripping off the edge. And he plays with a hot motor, and he's had 10 sacks a year for 3 years in a row? Something like that.
I think it was 9 sacks for 4 years.
Yes. I mean, he's more productive than Chase Young and Randy Gregory. So yeah, I think that's a clear upgrade. I think they've upgraded the secondary. I mean, the Greenlaw loss, we'll see how good Graham can be, but I think Graham can be really, really good. So, yeah. What are your thoughts, Kev?
I mean, I can't really think. I mean, a lateral move inherently means that you didn't get better or worse. So I'm pretty confident that they didn't get worse. The only real place you could say they got worse was losing Eric Armstead. But it was pretty apparent that the 49ers didn't want Eric Armstead because they offered him like a $7 million deal. They offered him less than they offered Yetur Gross Matos. I mean, the Niners made it pretty clear
they made him the kind of offer. Yeah, they made him the offer that demanded that he leave.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this for a while. I'm not sure if I'm just standing alone on this, but I think the least talked about thing this offseason is the fact that the Niners offered Eric Armstead an insultingly low offer. And I know the fan base. I tweeted something out about it, and the fan base
for fear that
was
he
all
would
like,
take it.
Yeah, no,
They wanted to move on to a younger, healthier guy.
Yeah, people were like, "That's what he deserves." There's no. He did not deserve $7 million. I don't care. I don't care what you think about him. The Niners know that he was worth more than that. You know, he was worth more than $7 million, and he got 17 from the Jaguars. They should have just told him, "Hey, look, we don't want you to play here next year." But they gave him a $7 million offer. I don't really know why they did that, but I mean, that's just really low.
They wanted to move off because he was part of their, proposition to get deeper and healthier. And, I mean, when you have plantar fasciitis, have you ever met anybody who said, man, I used to have really bad plantar fasciitis, but it's all gone now and I'm totally fine?
Yeah, it's like chronic. Yeah.
Once you have it, you kind of have it. Yeah. So I don't think, and then he also had a knee issue that seemed like that was getting worse.
You have to agree that this offering someone like Eric Armstead, a guy that's played as well as he has. I don't care that he got injured. Your Turgros Matos was injured for the same amount of games last season, and he got more money, hypothetically, than Eric Armstead. That's like an offer like how our doctors and our guys, our number guys are saying the most we can offer you is $7 million. Like they know that's not. Then they know he's not going to take it.
Right. I mean, they knew he wasn't going to take it. They knew that whatever dollar figure they could afford was going to have him, who's a powerful presence in the room, being unhappy about his number. So, I mean, you got to be honest with yourself and with your team. Do you want some employees that feel like they're getting screwed and are underpaid, just sitting around in a room full of other employees where they could contaminate the thing? I mean, he's a pro, but you don't want guys against their will. You don't want guys, feeling like they're getting screwed. You don't want guys feeling like they weren't supported. And so once you decided that what you could afford to pay him was going to be insulting to him, then it was almost incumbent upon the Niners to offer him even less than that so he wouldn't take it, so they could make a clean break and move on. I mean, let's just be honest. It's true in life as well. It's easier to accept a lesser role in a different room. It's hard to be like the man, and then all of a sudden, hey, you're not the man. You're making less than the other guys. So, and be in the same room. But the guy that you Niners to the Jaguars, now it's easy. It's a new room, and they don't know. It's so. I just think that
no one wants to see the guy that you put under your wing like your boss. Now you don't want you don't want to see people pass you up like that. Yeah,
right. It's just bad vibes. Should we take one last one here?
We got one last call here.
Last call. Who do we got?
Train.
49er Gravy Train. How are you, man?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Washington, D.C.
Nice. Love D.C. Great town. So what's on your mind tonight?
Well, I love the draft. I was a little surprised with the Ricky Pearsall pickup because I just didn't see it coming. Yeah. But when I looked at the highlights, I wanted to kick back on something you've been saying a lot, Larry. You've been saying, I don't know if he's tough. The first catch I seen him make was a one-handed catch. He got crunched right after the catch. I'm like, this guy looks pretty good.
Did he get crunched, or did those guys hit each other?
I think I go with Kev. It looked like they crushed.
I mean, that's one of the greatest catches in the history of football.
It was the best.
It was like
I agree. I agree.
But when I watched that, I don't know if they crunched him or if they crunched each other, but whatever. I mean, I know what you're saying.
Well, look, that's just my opinion.
Let's just say this: he looked plenty tough on that play.
He did. Yeah. He did. He had another catch against LSU. I thought he jumped up for it and came down with it and got hit pretty good too. So, and then it's the SEC. So, I mean, if you're a receiver in the SEC and you're, when I watched the games or the highlights, he was the go-to receiver for Florida, So
yeah,
I think he's pretty decent.
But let's talk about this division. In this division,
let's just watch this for a sec.
Let's see it. I think these guys hit each other.
The ball was a little high, and one jumps up there and snags it.
See, they hit each other.
Popped.
No, he got popped. No. I'm with Kev on that. He got popped.
Up there and
look at the defender.
I
The
mean,
defender,
still, it's pretty
whatever.
impressive.
I mean,
to catch that one-handed.
I'm not going to sit there and. I mean, I'm sitting here at Mike. He's not tough. It's like I'm not taking that hit. I'm about to have another glass of water and sit on the couch. You know what I mean? But yeah, no. But I know what you're saying. But that's my question because I can see the route running. The size is legit. The 20-yard split's legit. I can see the ball skills. I can see the catch radius. It's all about, can he get off the line of scrimmage against Tariq Woolen? Can he get off the line of scrimmage against Quinyon Mitchell? Can he get off the line of scrimmage against the best corners on the best teams with money on the table? Can he get can he beat the jam of L'Jarius Sneed? I guess he's now, where's L'Jarius now? He's in Tennessee.
He's in the Tennessee Titans. We probably won't see him because they're not good enough.
But I mean, that's my only real question about Pearsall. Don't question any of the other aspects. I just question, can this guy who's 195, can he, or not 195, what is he? What does he weigh? Maybe he is 195.
Yeah, right? I think he's in the 190s, a little less than 200 pounds.
Can this guy beat the jam against the best press man corners who are up on the line of scrimmage and are trying to reroute him? Can he stay on his feet and get into his route and get down the field? Or does he get knocked off his route and is on the ground and, is really impacted by the strength at the line of scrimmage? To me, that's the big question. If you could tell me that this kid is super tough, a la Julian Edelman, then there's no doubt it's going to be a great pick because you can see the fit in the offense. You can see the fit with Purdy, and you can see the receiving skills are really quite advanced. I don't know if you heard the beginning of the stream, but there was a story today on Niners Nation, and I haven't read the story. I just saw the headline that Eric DeCosta, who's one of the best young GMs in the game, who took over for Ozzie Newsome in Baltimore, that DeCosta had Pearsall as one of his sleepers. To me, that makes me feel that much better about Pearsall, just because DeCosta has been hot, man, and he's been, he's one of the better GMs going. And if he really likes Pearsall, man, that's a good sign.
Look, I heard you talk about the receiver Cowling that we drafted, and Steve
Smith's
breakdown of him. He's a really good receiver. I think we'll be very happy with him. But Steve Smith also did a breakdown of Ricky Pearsall.
I saw that. I saw him. He was really complimentary of Pearsall, huh? He loved Cowing too.
Yeah, he did. I think both of those would be good players for us. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I know the Malik Mustafa and the cornerback in the second round. They said we haven't drafted a corner in the second round in 20 years. I mean, the last shutdown cornerback that we had was Deion Sanders, with the exception of, Travarius Ward was an all-pro this year, so you have to give him his props for that. But the corner position has been neglected for far too long. Yeah, I feel like we gave up too much. In the Kansas City Chiefs, they had Snead, they had McDuffie. They were able to blitz, they were able to cover. You have to have three good corners. I like Lenore. Put him in the slot, but I hope Green or Yadam emerges on the outside, or maybe even kick the tires on it, Xavier Howard.
That wouldn't be bad. Yadam's coming off a real good year, and I think I loved him coming out of Boston College. He's really big. He's a big corner with long arms, very physically dominant. The guy who I think you got to watch, the guy that to me is like, when you watch this guy on the practice field, you go, Jesus, this guy's made to play the game. And that is Darrell Luter. So let's not forget about him. Darrell Luter is big and long and rangy and athletic. He could be a very improved player this year.
Well, we need a third corner to emerge. We can't have another Logan Ryan experiment where we're getting a guy off a cruise ship and he's out there getting burnt in the biggest moments in the Super Bowl. Both of those touchdowns Pat Mahomes threw were wide open to slot receivers, and we just got to have better coverage on the back end.
No question. I used to scout in the Canadian League, and the defensive coordinator who I worked for, this guy Bill Urbanek, he's no longer with us, and we used to talk about it all the time in meetings. What's the key to pass coverage? And he would always say the same thing: pass coverage. In other words, there is no fucking key to pass coverage. You gotta have dudes. You gotta have dudes.
You're either able to do it or you can't.
You can't. You gotta have. there's no like secret. You got to have athletes. And
In
so,
the
I mean,
moment of truth, I want to be able to say, it's your fault you got burned. I don't like that zone. They're looking at each other. The corner's looking at the safety looking at the. I don't know whose fault. No, I want to be able to point my finger. That was your man. Did you cover him or did you not? You
Right.
know, and the crucial points in the game, and that's where I feel like we've been lacking on the back end. All of this zone. You know, Chris Sims was talking about it. We were sleepless in Seattle. He called us after the Super Bowl because we run the Seattle cover 3 scheme, and they just chopping the zone up. Man, it's not covering anybody. You know,
yeah,
what
and
I'm saying?
Mahomes,
Eventually,
you got to mix it up against Mahomes. Mahomes is too damn smart.
absolutely.
But this is 2 years in a row now. Last year, Luter, if you watched him at South Alabama, he played exclusively press man up on the line. Even when they were playing zone on the other side, he was playing press man. And then this year they got Green, and Green's played a lot of press man. So they're getting more guys back there who have experience and have had success playing press man. Will it make them play some more press man and some key third downs this year? I hope so. I hope so.
I hope so as well. And the coverage marrying with the where you're
The
blitzing,
rush.
you can't play off coverage, you know, and Wilts did that a lot last
Oh,
season where
I mean, the
he's
Cincinnati
giving
game
them an
was
easy out. It was
the
like
Cincinnati game was
embarrassing.
the Cincinnati game was embarrassing.
Yes.
I mean, they played off coverage and blitzed and watched Joe Burrow make the easiest 5 and 6 and 10 and 12-yard completions I've ever seen. You're playing off coverage, you're blitzing, you're speeding up the quarterback, and there he is, Tyler Boyd. Boop. You know,
That
Jamar
whole
Chase.
3-game losing streak was terrible. The Oliver experiment, he got burnt like
Oh,
toast. It
yeah,
was
he was bad.
ridiculous how much he was exposed.
He had no ability to mirror receivers off double moves. He had no real man-to-man cover skills at all. He was smart. He knew where to be, but he didn't have the ability to mirror, and it was obvious. And then, to me, where the team really turned around last year is when they put Ambry on the field in the
I like
Jacksonville
Ambry
game.
Thomas. I would have rather had Ambry out there. He might have got a pass interference, but he could run. He was athletic. He wasn't slow like Logan Ryan. You have to
No.
have some younger, faster, athletic corners out there that can cover these receivers. It's period point blank. I mean,
Well, what about
whether
the
that's
other one?
Luger,
I asked
thought
Shanahan.
Womack. I mean,
No,
all of
Womack's
those
gotta
guys have
play more.
potential.
Yeah, no, they do. All those guys, include I love Womack. I remember asking Shanahan before one of the playoff games, and I'm like, I knew the answer, right? Because Logan Ryan looked so bad in the first one. And I said, who's going to play safety? Are you going with Ryan or are you going with Jair Brown? And I remember asking Steve Wilkes about it, and Steve was like, we talked about that already. And it's like, well, that means you're going with Brown. Sure enough, they went with Brown. If they had not gone with Brown in the Detroit game or in the Super Bowl, they wouldn't have even made the Super Bowl. Brown had
I agree. Brown
13
is a stud.
tackles in that Detroit
I
game.
love Brown. Brown had an interception on Pat Mahomes in the Super Bowl. It'll be
Brown's
forgotten because we
a
didn't win
dog,
the game.
man. Brown's a player.
And I love Grant had a good point about Hufanga. The points per game is significant. It's like a whole touchdown less when Hufanga's in the game. And I look forward to him coming back because we.
It's funny, and his premise was the numbers are better when Hufanga was in there. Thus, it's about Hufanga. When he asked me about it, I told him what I thought, which is, I think it's partly about Hufanga. I think it's mostly about who was coming on the field when they took Hufanga off the field, because Gibson was Gibson's a productive interceptor, but no coverage ability at all. And so I thought
bad.
that hurt. That hurt
Gibson
when they had to play Gibson
last season.
Yeah, I mean,
but the thing about it was
they got to be better in the secondary against the run this year.
Yeah, Gibson was on the field with Hufanga, and when Hufanga got hurt, they brought in Jair Brown, which I think Jair Brown and Hufanga will be a better combination. And I love what they got in Malik Mustafa. If one of those two get hurt, I think he's a real hitter. I'm like an old school Ronnie Lott guy, so I want to see the guys that knock the poop out of you. And he's the guy that will come up and flat out knock you out. And I like
Here's
that.
the question I would have. Do they have now 3 strong safeties, though? Because there's no doubt that I like Jair Brown, but I prefer him I like him at free safety. I think he's better than Tayshaun, but I don't think he's a great coverage guy. I think he's better in the box. I think Fonga's better in the box, and I wonder if Mustafa, who I know can play better coverage than those guys, I wonder if he is good enough to be the free safety, or if there's a chance when everybody gets on the field that Green has to play free safety, and he's got experience playing free safety, so it's not totally out of the realm of possibility. But to me, I love the Mustafa ad because I looked at the safeties and I knew they needed safeties, and I was looking at the safeties in the draft. I only really liked like about maybe a half dozen guys. And usually I like 15 or 16 safeties. I only liked like 4, 5. So I was really excited they got Mustafa because he was one of my favorites in this draft.
I believe that Mustafa and Bethune were lynch picks. If they hit really hard, they're a lynch pick. So I think those were the 2 lynch picks in the draft, and probably Green, because Green is actually a pretty good tackler for a corner. But I think that Jair can play free. I really do. He had the interception in the Super Bowl against Mahomes, and it was another time where he got one-on-one against like the number 1 receiver, and he intercepted it or batted it down in a crucial point in the game. He has some ability to play free to me. So
well, he's a productive interceptor. I think he had 10 plus picks all the last 3 years at Happy Valley. So, and he's a great athlete. And I'll tell you, I talk to these guys in the locker room all the time. That dude is the real deal. I mean, he works hard. He improves. He's tough as hell. He fit in perfectly. He was the New Jersey all-time steals leader as a basketball player. His break on the ball is rare. So, yeah, I love that kid. And he's going to get nothing but better and better and better. And he's a great, hardworking, smart, football smart defender. He's everything you want. I mean, I loved him. He was the MVP of the Rose Bowl against Utah his final year there, in college. So I thought he was terrific this year. Yeah, he's like one of the most liked guys in the locker room too. I mean, he's just because he works at it. He watches the film. He's really cerebral. He's really serious about football. So that's a good thing. All right, man. Hey, thanks for jumping in here. Some good stuff. Do this again.
I appreciate you guys. You guys are doing the best 49er content in the world. Keep it up. You guys enjoy it. 49ers Gravy Train, YouTube. Follow me.
There you go.
49ers Gravy Train.
49er Gravy Train. Good call. Good call. I always love the Wednesday night shows, man, because we get into it, we start chopping it up, we start talking to the listeners. And we got a guy calling in Norway. I mean, DC. Local guys. I mean, it's cool. It's cool. I love the video calls. You got a final thought, Kev, before we bolt for the door?
I do not.
That's it.
Gotta go read some Shakespeare.
Really? Othello?
Yeah.
Hamlet?
No.
Midsummer Night's Dream?
Antony and Cleopatra.
They loved each other.
Good stuff.
It was a passionate love.
Yeah, it is.
What class is it? Shakespeare?
It's like old English class or something. I don't know. I suck at it. I'm not doing great.
Oh, dude, sounds terrible.
It is.
Do you participate? Do you participate in class?
Yeah, I've been to every class. I've not missed a class. It's 9 a.m.
Do you sit in the front?
On the other side of campus. No, I don't sit in the front. Actually,
don't sit
sometimes.
in the front.
It's a small classroom. It's hard not to be close.
Sit in the front. They'll think that you're interested.
Will do.
That's my message. All right. Let's thank our sponsors. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Check the link in the description. Use that promo code Krug, K-R-U-E-G, and they'll match you up to your first $100. Thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles down in Monterey. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue along the Monterey Peninsula. They're in Pacific Grove. Call Anthony Catania, 831-521-5264. And during the summer months, they're doing kind of a sidewalk party on the first Friday of every month where they have food and drink. So call Anthony Catania once again, 831-521-5264. And thanks to Marin Auto Glass as well. Marin Auto Glass has been a good sponsor. MarinAutoglass.com for all of your windshield needs. All right, tomorrow is Thursday. What do we got tomorrow on the extravaganza? I'll tell you.
Raj, potentially 8:30.
We got Raj tomorrow night. We got Raj going tomorrow night, and then we'll also have some videos tomorrow from minicamp, from some of the rookies and the podium, and Nick Sorensen. We'll look for that tomorrow afternoon, and then Friday I'm in Santa Clara. I got to see exactly the times, but I think I'll go live in the morning with Damon. Then I'm off to Santa Clara. I'm not sure if I'll be able to talk to Chase Senior. I'll have to look at the times on that. But we'll be in Santa Clara, and then I will do some videos telling you about what I thought of rookie minicamp. And so I believe the coach stops by Saturday at 9 a.m. for a little live stream. And that's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks to Kev. Thanks to all of you. Hit a like and subscribe. If you hit like, it helps the algorithm. More people find our streams. If you hit subscribe and hit that notification bell, every time we go live, you will be notified that we are going live. So give us a like, give us a sub, and support the channel. And thanks to all of you. If you want to buy stuff, there's the merch store. You can buy shirts and sweatshirts and mugs, and I do videos for everybody who does buy merchandise to support the channel. For Kev, I'm Larry. Have a great night, everybody. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you